distinguished guest is none other than Mr. Alex McMurray, songwriter, guitar player, creative extraordinaire, mainstay of the New Orleans music scene and the American music scene for a long time. Alex, thank you very, very much for making the time to come sit down with me today for a half an hour. I appreciate it very much.
Chris. Good to be here.
Seriously, thanks. I'm a huge fan. You'll see that pretty quickly. What do I do with this podcast? It is new. You are the second person, episode number 2. And again, I thank you. I take guitar players, bring them into my house. Guitar players who know what they're doing. Musicians who happen to play the guitar, not guys that push buttons on the guitar, but real players that can play the thing. And get into the inside baseball. Why do they do it? Why do they play the style that they play? Why do they play the guitar that they play? So for some guys, and we'll see if that's you, the guitar itself makes an awful lot of difference. For some guys, Jim Hall very famously said, it's a guitar. It's not a wife or a dog, it's a tool. And I know that's a way that some guys look at it, and for some guys it's much more than that. So we'll see where you fall on that one. I think I know, but we'll figure that one out as we go along. You've been a name, you've been a household, you've been a name in my household for a long time, man. I think to this day, when somebody says, they're coming to New Orleans, where do I go, Chris? Who do I go see? What do you want? Who should they see? You are, no shit, you're one of the first names that come out of my mouth. Say, if you want to see a guy who writes really good songs, go see Alex McMurray. Doesn't matter where he is, doesn't matter what band he's playing with. There are a number of them. Go see him sing the songs. And I have never been, I've never gotten a call back saying, you know what, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, because I've always gotten thank you. He was fantastic. And for that, I thank you. You definitely, you've increased my profile with some out of town friends, for sure.
Glad to have.
Glad, it's good to know. So with this, we'll start with the guitar. Obviously, you're a musician. You choose to play the guitar. Big question, hard question. Why the guitar? Why not a piano? Why not a picket?
My sister and I both wanted a piano when we were kids. We lobbied our parents to get a piano with it, and in the 70s, early 80s, pianos were expensive, and there was no room in the house, for one.
Fair enough.
And my sister and I both would go to friends' houses and play their pianos. My sister got pretty good. She was, she could play, a lot of songs by ear and stuff like that. But I didn't have like some great vocation or anything. I just kind of, I don't know what it was. I was interested in music vaguely, but not obsessively.
No. You didn't want to be Bob Dylan, or you didn't want to be...
No, not then. I'm talking about like when I was like 10, 11, 12 maybe. When I was like, going over to my friends' houses and like just kind of like doing their piano lesson.
Got it.
Like the piano teacher was just there, and so they're like, I'm like, what did they show you today? And then like, but by the time I got to the part where the one hand does something different from the other hand, then I couldn't get it after that. But like, so there was this kid across the street, a good friend of mine growing up, and he had a bass. He bought a bass, and he was hanging with some guys that were playing. And I thought that just seemed kind of cool to just, I basically just wanted to have a guitar that I could play air guitar with and have a real guitar rather than a broom. And so my cousin had a guitar, and I was in the 8th grade at the time, and I asked my mom, my parents, mom and dad, I'd want to get this guitar from Chris. Chris and Mike, it was just the two brothers, my two cousins there. And so they're like, okay, if you get good grades, then yeah, we'll get it for you. So, I was a terrible student in those days. And so I did well in school. I actually got good grades. And they were like, okay, we'll take you over there. It was a Sunday. My mom drove me over to my Uncle Bill's house. Gave my cousin Chris $30. And I got this electric guitar. It was the kind of guitar you'd get at like Sam Goody's. The brand was a Loar, Lori. It had 2 pickups. It had like one of those really like a whammy bar, it was a, you know,
Designed never to play in tune.
yeah, it was just like, it was like a small, crappy, I guess I'm going to say it was Japanese or Taiwanese or something, I don't know. And that was my first guitar. And it came with, my cousin threw in the book, the Mel Bay 1 book.
Oh,
And I you know, so I get the whole thing home, and it shows you how to tune it, you know, not like, you know, they're like, tune to the piano, or E as best as you can remember. I'm like, what do I know from E,
Yeah,
you know? I'm like, I think it should be about this tense, you know?
That's it.
The guitar, the string should be about this loose, I think, I don't know.
True.
I'd never really operated a guitar.
You and I are both, like I said, 23 years old, so the internet did not exist.
I mean, I had never operated a guitar in my life, and so I just kind of guessed this feels sort of right. And I tuned it to itself, and then they were like, here's the notes on the first string, you know, E, F, G, blah, 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 and like, you know, like reading notes on a staff, you know. And I did like a page of this, and I was like, this is boring, you know, and then like I noticed later that in the back of the book, they had, the very last page had a bunch of chords. It had like, you know, like major, minor, minor 7, dominant, blah, 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 for, you know, C, F, G, blah, 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 all of them. And like all these first position chords, you know. And so I kind of figured out, oh, like there's a picture of it. So I, you know, I was able to make a D chord or a G7 chord, or G.
Yeah.
And so I kind of put that together a little bit, and then I discovered double stops kind of on my own. Like if you take your, you know, just kind of mash your hands down on the low strings, then you can sound like Black Sabbath. And I was plugging in my little radio, you know, I could like hit the thing so it thought there was a tape in there and press record, and I had a little adapter and you could plug it into the microphone.
Oh, there was no amplifier with the Loar.
I didn't have an amplifier, so I'd plug in my little radio and I could defeat the whatever, and so it would record the guitar, and it was really cool and a really cool distortion. I wish I still had that radio.
I'm sure people pay for that shit now.
But like, yeah, my dad had the radio until, you know, he died, but then it got lost and shuffled. But anyway, so kind of like between that Mel Bay book and just sort of, I don't know, experimenting, you know, I kind of got started without even wanting to. It just kind of happened on its own. I wasn't.
Did the songwriting coincide with the 10-year-old? Did you write
I was 13.
Did you write a song?
I was trying to. Yeah, I tried to write songs. I tried to write a song right away. I tried to, like, I had this little melody worked out, but I couldn't. I remember trying to. I found a poem somewhere in a book that I was going to try to. But it was horrible, and I didn't try that again until I was like 17 or something.
When you had all the life experience that you
I
needed
didn't.
to write great songs.
I just, you know, I writing songs was not something I was even thinking about, you know.
Fair enough. And so the guitar, if I can, when I hear you play the guitar, I hear you know, I hear a pro player. I hear a guy who's been around the block, someone who chooses the notes well, chooses the chord extensions, the upper extensions, or the simplicity of the chords. You choose that very well. And when it comes time, I've seen you quite a few times live. Like a lot of good players, you have a very strong facility on the guitar neck itself. You can be fast if you want to be fast, and most of the times you're not. Like many good, like, which is the mark for me of a player that sometimes is worth listening to, and maybe is not worth listening to at that time. And just because you can play a million notes a minute, that doesn't mean you should, depending on the song. When I've seen you play, you choose. You outline the chords. You're following the changes. You're going outside, and it's not really jazz. It's not really rock and roll. It's not really blues. It's a combination of a lot of those things. The simple answer is, well, you play to the song, and everybody says that. But when you pattern your guitar playing, do you hear somebody? I mean, is J.J. Cale in your head?
Yeah, I don't really know J.J. Cale. I just know that he wrote some of those songs that Eric Clapton did. But I mean, my musical diet is is, I mean, it's embarrassingly slim. You know, I've grown, throughout my life since I was, a kid. So there's huge gaps in my knowledge of recorded music.
I think a lot of people make that mistake with performers and songwriters that because you do it, you know everybody, you've heard everything, and that is, you're not the first player.
But what I do know, because J.J. Cale plays pretty sparingly.
That's why I brought it up. Yeah,
right?
not.
And
and well.
Yeah. So, but I've always a person I liked a lot when I was a kid, was Mark Knopfler.
That makes a lot of sense.
Does J.J. Cale play with his fingers too?
I don't know. I don't know. The reason why I brought J.J. Cale up is, first and foremost, J.J. Cale is known as a songwriter first, musician, guitar player second. Not to say he's not a good guitar player,
but I would say that I'm probably as close to that as anybody, because my guitar playing is really, any kind of professionalism that I have or expertise that I have is only because I've been sort of thrust into situations where one must have professionalism and expertise, where the situation is like there's somebody who has paid. So I'm just trying to do what I think fits the thing that I'm doing at that moment. Like, I'm playing with these people, and I think that this is what fits in this situation. So that's always ever been my consideration. That's it. It's just like what fits, get the job done. Mm-hmm. Just don't do anything too crazy. There are situations, of course, where the whole idea is to get crazy.
There are some audiences that want that.
Yeah, and there's depends on the situation. So I just I guess that's my outlook is, I guess, pretty conservative overall when I'm playing in the usual circumstances, which is like you're playing with somebody else. Maybe if it's me, if it's my stuff, then whatever, that has a certain aesthetic. If it's somebody else's thing, I try to hew to their aesthetic as much as I can figure out what it is,
Yeah, and for the audience, if you're new to Alex, he has been on a myriad of other projects, other records, other people. Certainly, I hope one of the goals of this podcast is the people that I have on this podcast, for the people that are hearing your name perhaps for the first time, which would be rare, but in this case it's possible. You go check out these guys, and Alex is in. If you look up Alex McMurray, you're going to find Alex McMurray, but you're maybe not. I don't know how the internet works. There's many bands. There's the Tin Men. There's the Valparaiso Men's Chorus. There's Happy Talk Band. There's other things that I'm missing. You're involved in a lot of different things. But one of the common threads is it's good musicianship, solid. Now, one thing that I will call you on in a complimentary way, the people you surround yourself with, your choice of musicians, it's an eclectic, non-conventional instrument choice for your bands. You have a sousaphone as a bass player, you have washboard jazz as percussion, and that's it. You do have bands where there's standard guitar and bass and horns and all their other business. You have one band as an all-male chorus, and other bands can mix and match.
Yeah, but the chorus with like a 9-piece band.
You are right.
With 2 accordions.
Exactly.
And like penny whistle and
Jesus,
violin
fucking hurting
and
cats if there ever was
trombone
one.
and drum set, sousaphone, washboard, guitar. It's and then the 20 guys singing.
What draws you to the unconventional fleshing out of these songs?
Like the whole Valparaiso thing was like when I was in Japan doing sea shanties at the Disney park. That's how I was doing Drunken Sailor one day, you know, it was part of my job, and just me and a guitar.
A fascinating and very strange story.
And I
We'll
was
get there.
walking, you know, through the restaurant where I was working, and I was playing with a certain kind of beat because nobody's listening, you know, so I'm just sort of amusing myself, and I was like, wait, you know, this sounds like a New Orleans thing, and I specifically, well, what if we had Carlo Nuccio play the drums here, and you know, Matt Perron on sousaphone, and some people singing. That's where the germ of the idea came.
In Japan, walking through.
In Japan, when I was doing, I had this, you know, I had the job working at Tokyo Disney Sea, singing sea shanties as a strolling atmosphere musician in 2002.
Okay, if anybody listening to this is going to be like, what did he just say? This job is very unique. In 2002, you spent a year in Japan.
6 months.
6 months, sorry. In 2002, you left New Orleans and you spent the 6 months in Japan doing exactly what, my friend? How would you describe your employment at that time?
First of all, there's Disneyland.
Okay.
I did not work at Disneyland. I worked at Disney Sea, right next door. Disney's very popular in Japan, so they built a second park to accommodate all the people that want to go. And so the park, the Disney Sea Park, was very new at the time. I think it had only been built in like 2000. And I played a character named Captain Sandy. Not that he's not from a movie. He was just a 19th century sea captain, you know, with a hat with braid and a string tie and a pea coat and rubber Wellington kind of boots. And I was what they call atmosphere. So that means you stroll around outside.
Do you speak no Japanese?
No.
Okay.
My job was to stroll around and sing sea shanties and basically like be part of the atmosphere. And you know, people want to stop and have their picture taken with you, and you know, you make the little peace sign. You say "Shashin dozo," which means please take picture, and then you take their picture. They take your picture, and then you keep going and sing more sea shanties. And so I had to learn a lot of sea shanties for this. I had 6 shows a day, or they call them shows, but they're not really shows. You just go out and walk around.
Just walk around and play the guitar. And
yeah.
Sing
Well, you had to do.
You had to make them up on the fucking spot.
No,
or
you
some
know,
of them.
I mean, there's a stage manager.
There's a lot of room for fun there, man.
Yeah. So, but like, you know, there was basically somebody's kind of shadowing you.
Oh, okay.
So you don't
All right.
wander off into another part of the park where you don't belong.
Ooh.
And or just they, you know, you're not just free to move about the cabin.
Oh, fair enough. It's their sea shanty.
Yeah. So, but then, you know, it's not nefarious. I think it's just like there to help you in case whatever, and to let you know when it's time to go in when your set is over, so you're not looking at your watch or something. But so I, you know, with 6 shows a day, you get a lot of time to work on sea shanties. I didn't know any of them when I got there, and I thought they were going to show me some sea shanties, but they didn't. The other guy, there's another Captain Sandy. That was my character, Captain Sandy, who knew
Everybody was Captain Sandy.
just the 2 Captain Sandys.
Okay.
And it was anyway. So we had the same outfit, but he was 65 and I was 32 or whatever. And so he was like, "Hey kid, I got a book on sea shanties you can teach yourself some." So I was slowly teaching myself sea shanties. Anyway, so like, you know, I was doing Drunken Sailor, which is a very popular sea shanty, and I thought that would kind of go with like a New Orleans brass band kind of rhythm.
That's where it came from.
You know.
Yeah. That's so you got the germ of the idea for a very unique instrumentation band in New Orleans, singing sea shanty solo in Japan.
Yeah. So like it was basically, to answer your question in a very roundabout way, the instrumentation was to serve the sound that in my head, you know, what I thought it should be, to graft the sea shanty onto an existing musical style. So instead of having like bass drum and a snare drummer, which would be a badass too. But I happen to know at that time I knew a drummer who was, I'd love to, I want to hear what he would do on it, you know.
And you wanted a full drive, like, I mean, I'm curious,
I thought after the sousaphone and the drums and the chorus, everything else would be window dressing, really. Like the guitar would be in there as, you know, rhythmic, you know, sort of mid-range stuff. But, you know, the fiddles and all that stuff, it's a very long story, but that band, the Valparaiso Men's Chorus, started as a film project. And there are, correct me if I'm wrong, there are videos of you and 40 guys basically in the band singing, right? Yeah, like something like that. You know, you can't really tell.
Or, you know, guys and girls, I guess.
Yeah, you can't tell the audience from the band and the band from the chorus, and so yeah. So but the Tin Men you mentioned as well. That's a sousaphone washboard guitar trio.
A great band.
That's that band kind of happened not because we were saying, oh, I'm hearing this sound in my head. We just happened to be. I had a solo gig, and sometimes Matt Bohren, the sousaphonist, would come by and sit in on a couple tunes. Sometimes Washboard Chaz would come by and sit in on a couple of tunes. And one time, they both came at the same time. So we all played together, the three of us. Mm-hmm. And the sousaphone and the washboard and the acoustic guitar had this wonderful blend, you know.
You never even thought about doing it?
We'd never thought about it. And we were just like, we did one song, we went, oh, let's do another. So we did a few songs, and then we took a break, you know.
No
it was my solo gig. But we were like, oh man, this is great. We should start a band, and because we, you know, and so we even like came up with a name for the band right away, you know, like that night, which is very rare.
Please continue. I have a question about the band name.
Sure, but like, anyway, because we all have metal in our instruments. The guitar I had like a resonator on it. You know, I was playing this resophonic guitar, it was a wooden guitar with a resonator. Mm-hmm. And so that made it unique, and of course Chaz has the corrugated metal that he's, you know, and the tuba of course is brass, and the metal on the guitar. So we were like, oh, the metal something, Tin Men. It was, you know, not very creative, but we were like, oh, there's a name, because that's usually like half the battle is having a name for your band.
Well, my friend, I will. It's a bit of a compliment session, because you are an excellent songwriter. A truly talented craftsman when it comes to writing songs. And this band called the Tin Men, I was like, all right, this guy McMurray, very creative dude, why does he have this band? Why is he called the Tin Men? And I bonked my head, I was like, oh, you sneaky son of a bitch. It's a Wizard of Oz metaphor, if they only had hearts.
Oh, that's much more creative, actually.
But my point is, I gave that with you. You didn't have to explain. I mean, I was like, oh, this guy, that's pretty fucking smart. That's the type of writing that you do. That is something that you would do.
The heartless bastards.
Yeah, pretty much. If they only had hearts.
If they only had hearts, that's funny.
But again, Alex McMurray, it's another story of my wife's from Newark. The truth is far less interesting than the fiction most of the time, which is probably why we do what we do. Which brings us to the guitar. I don't want to close without saying that it takes a lot of balls, a lot of nerve, a lot of ability, and a lot of confidence to do anything musically or creatively, whatever the case may be. But to say, yeah, I'm going to have a band, and I'm not going to give everybody what they expect. I'm not going to give them a bass guitar and a drummer and horns. This is New Orleans. You know what they're going to get? They're going to get a sousaphone, which is basically a tuba, small tuba, and a guy playing a washboard. And if you don't like it, that's fine. You can go someplace else. That is an incredibly respectable move. And what you did was create very unique music, and continue to do so. The new record, as far as like an interesting instrumentation, the new record, the Tin Men record, is called Hit It, and it starts with a calliope solo. Somebody went down to the calliope and pressed record, I guess. But it's cool. Or maybe somebody played for it.
We gave the calliope player, whose name I cannot remember, she played one of our songs.
Oh.
Right, and it's this the record opens with this song called "Beautiful Shore" on the calliope, and then it ends with that same piece, or different part of the same performance, I think. But it's also the last song on the record, as we play it, because Matt, the sousaphonist, he was working on, he still is sometimes, works on the Natchez, I think it is, and playing Dixieland, trad jazz, whatever, and met the calliope player, and he's always had this crazy dream to get a recording of the calliope playing something, to write for the calliope.
And it took some dead presidents and made it happen.
Well, I
Like
don't
most
even
things.
know if she charged us for it. I think I don't even know.
Knowing New Orleans, who the hell?
I don't know. He made it happen, and he got the recording, and I didn't ask any questions. It was between him and the engineer.
That's it.
Yeah.
Do you like the calliope?
I do. I mean, it's funny because it's very atmospheric dependent. The wind has to be blowing the right way to even hear it. So where I live down in the bywater, I can sometimes, when the wind is right, I can hear it really well, and sometimes I
Can't hear it at
don't
all.
for a long time. But of course, here in the quarter where we are now, where you live, it's much more part of your life, and I can see how it might be a nuisance. I don't know. It never makes me. It never drives me crazy.
No, it doesn't. I find, like a lot of things in New Orleans, that which doesn't make sense is the most prevalent. And New Orleans, arguably the most musical city on planet Earth, has the shittiest, most out of tune, couldn't play in tune if it was the best day of its life instrument as the metaphor for New Orleans.
I wonder about that because
the variable steam
it's like
pressure.
it's the steam. I don't know. It's not a constant.
It's not constant. No, it's close to constant,
Yeah.
but it has variances.
That's sort of
what it
why it's so great.
Yeah,
There's something out of your control, and you can. And I think also that the wind might disturb it somehow too.
Sometimes it literally will sound as if it's right outside the door.
Yeah.
And sometimes on Dauphine Street, I spend a lot of time on Dauphine Street by the old Horns, where Horns used to be.
Yeah.
And
La Peniche, it was called.
La Paniche. It sounds like the thing's outside. It's a strange New Orleans.
Because and sometimes
something or other.
Yeah, it's just like which way is the wind blowing. But I think like sometimes whatever the humidity or the wind speed might affect the pitch.
I'll take it, man. I'll take it all day long. I love that thing.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, this is number one guitar. So I'm gonna pivot a little bit here. When we first, I spoke with you a couple weeks ago. Went out to BJ's. You play a Monday night gig there. BJ's in New Orleans. Blues based on Monday and red beans, and whoever's making those red beans and rice, they're absolutely genius. But when I went to you and spoke with you, I have quite a few of these lined up, and the guys that are coming after you in the upcoming weeks. When I brought it up to them, again, this is number one guitar. They were like, "Are you doing that, Chris? That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm in. I'll bring X and I'll talk about this." And I said, "Alex, I'm doing a guitar story, a guitar podcast about people in their main performance guitar and exactly why you chose it." And you looked at me in no uncertain terms. You looked at me with a look of confusion, as in you never really even thought about it. It's there. It is something that you use to deliver the songs, but as far as being a guitar player, and a very good guitar player, an excellent guitar player, there is no, well, Chris, I'm going to bring my 1952 X, and that's the only one I'm going to bring. Yeah. You basically looked at this guitar that's in front of us now and said, I'll bring this one, but at the time it was out of repair, and you got kicked or something like that.
No,
it got kicked, or it's
a funny story. Actually.
Yeah, what is it? I'll ask you the same question that I asked you. What's this guitar? Why is it this guitar?
Well, so This guitar I got it from Spencer Bohren, and I think I got it at either the very end of 2015 or the very beginning of 2016. I can't really track down the timeline. Spencer Bohren was a wonderful singer-songwriter, storyteller, artist.
Yes.
And I got to play with him a lot in the last, 15 years or so until he passed in 2019. And so he had this guitar, and we had a band called the Wright Brothers, and it was 4 songwriters who, came together and wrote some songs together, and we did some performances where we would play the songs we wrote together, and we would also everybody would have like a little solo spot where you play 1 or 2 songs of your own or whatever you wanted to do just by yourself. And so Spencer would go out with this guitar, this very guitar, and he would sing this song called The Old Homestead. Almost always he would do this song. He was playing that song a lot. And it was amazing. It was just great. It was like for me, the highlight of the show. And the sound of the guitar it sounded like a real guitar. It sounded like an actual guitar, but he wasn't using a mic or anything. And I remember talking to him like, hey man, what kind of pickup do you guys? It's like this thing called a McIntyre. It's like just like a little wire or something, It's nothing, and it's like, I don't know, the wire goes underneath the bridge or something. Explained it to me. He said it was really simple. It's like it's a guy in Kentucky or something, and it's like cheap and simple, and it's called a McIntyre. I don't know. And so, but it just sounded so great, and I would always tell him how much I loved this guitar and the way it sounded. And then one day he calls me and he says, hey, Alex, that guitar you love so much? I'm like, yeah. He said, you want to buy it? I'm like, sure. He's like, cause I'm buying one just like it, but it's got a different wood in the sides or something.
You could care less about any of that shit.
I guess I actually looked up the text today. And I guess the one he was buying, the same model, had mahogany sides and back, spruce top. This one has maple sides and back and a spruce top, whatever. So he sold me this guitar. I get the guitar. I'm really excited. I get to my first gig. We plug it in. I'm gonna sound like Spencer, and I plug it in. It sounds horrible. It's like beyond shitty. It's just terrible. And
failure to launch.
And so I bought like a little preamp, tried to like tweak it with the preamp, like with the EQ and all this stuff, and finally, I asked Spencer, what am I doing wrong? He's like, I don't know. He's like, maybe you're turning it too loud. He had like this little preamp box, whatever, but it was a different kind of thing. I don't know. He just had a way to do it, and it sounded great. So I went through about 6 pickups with this thing.
This very guitar.
This guitar, I tried. I don't know what the names of. There was Fishman's, and there was this and that, and like some fancier names and that, and I don't know. And I was talking to guitar people, saying, and they're like, ones that are like have a microphone and a pickup, and you blend them, and things like that. You've heard of these things?
I am continually the live sound thing for an acoustic guitar.
I went through.
Always an issue.
I went through literally. I think it was about 6 pickups. Then I finally settled on this magnetic thing. I think it's Fishman. I don't know.
That one I've years ago
Fishman.
it's a Fishman Rare Earth. I've had one of those years and years ago on a guitar.
It's got.
Is there a microphone in there?
No, it's just magnetic, and it's got a battery in it. So it's active, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, it would be. So here's the after the first podcast, I got quite a few questions. Chris, get a little more technical with the guitar. All right, so you make your living as a guitar player. You make your living as a songwriter, guitar player, and you play an acoustic guitar primarily. They make all sorts of different pickup systems. Some have microphones, some do not have microphones, and you settled on the magnet, no microphone.
Magnet, no microphone. When I finally put it in, it had the most just balanced sound. I mean, it was probably the least acoustic guitar-y, or like not as, but it just was dealable. The feedback thing was not an issue, and it just sounded, it was good enough to my ears. And I've been through a lot of shit with the with the microphone ones and the ones that they have that piezo kind of
Wackiness,
horrible, whatever that horrible thing that they do.
What that is.
So so that's what this guy does, and I often use a Fishman pedal, one of those big silver jobs.
I saw that at BJ's. What does that do? It's a
just
preamp
like
of some
sometimes
sort.
I just bring that because sometimes I don't know if they're going to have a DI,
Oh, okay.
and I don't, and like if I have that, then I know I can at least control the sound a little bit,
Yeah.
because there's somebody else doing the sound. And if I got too much bass on stage, or if I got too much, you know what I mean? I can just control the sound a little bit. I end up never really doing that. I just kind of leave it. It always ends up the same way. And it's got a tuner on it too.
The sound of BJ's is, for corner bar sound, it's very good.
Yeah.
It's extremely good, actually. And the guy who was doing the sound a couple of weeks ago.
Scully, he's the same guy who makes the beans too. So to answer that question.
Wow, he is bean master and music, and
he's a musician.
He's very good at the sound. I'm sure he's good at the other stuff too. So
this guitar though,
yes.
like the reason why this is number one, I mean, like this is when I do practice, which is not every day. This is what I practice on. When I do write, which is not every day, this is the one that stays out. This is the one that's by where I am. It stays out where I can get to it. And like you were talking about Jim Hall, whatever. It's like I'm much like that school. Like it's a tool. It's not. I have no sentimental attachment to it whatsoever. I'm attracted to this guitar because at least at that time it was in production. You could buy a new one for $500, and so if this one fell off a truck, I could get another guitar just like it for $500.
I got a number of questions about.
And also the main reason I liked it was that it was small. And like,
it is quite small.
And I was having some shoulder trouble, so this one's I can get my arm around it without, and so my shoulder trouble went away. So that worked.
Did you run into the trouble? That's something that happens to a lot of jazz guitar players.
I had a big old Takamine guitar that somebody had given me, and I was playing.
I guess.
It's like doing this, and plus I have terrible posture. But so I was having some shoulder trouble, so I was looking for a smaller guitar. So this fit the bill. And but the night when we were talking, I didn't know, but there actually was a hole in the back of the guitar, about this big.
Get out of here! This is the fix of the guitar. I'll put a picture up of the one the picture.
This
you
is
sent
Sal
me.
Giardino.
Holy mackerel!
And like, I played that whole gig, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was on a gig 2 nights later, and I'm playing my gig. And I'm standing up this time, not sitting down, and the guitar's catching on my pants. I'm like, why is this guitar catching on my pants? And I like between songs, I look down. There's an enormous hole. I sent you pictures, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the guitar was like trashed. I didn't even know.
I guess that's a testament to. There are lots of people that. I'm not one of those people. There are lots of people that will say that the pickup is really the only thing that's necessary. Because
because like so.
Who cares about the rest of it?
Well, it's like it was like I got it out of the case when I got home because it was I'd flown with it. That's why it was messed up. And it was pretty much in tune, If it was like wildly out of tune, I would think, oh, maybe there's something wrong. Mm-hmm. And I, went and did the gig, put it back in the case. Even then, like the 2 days later, I was getting ready for my gig. I take it out and practicing some stuff that I need to work on. Get to the gig, and it wasn't until the middle of the second gig that I even noticed that there's a softball-sized hole in the guitar.
If I may, can
I? Sure.
This guitar, folks, Alex sent me a picture of it. I'll put it up online. Had literally a 6-inch, 8-inch hole in it here, and I want to know who is the guy who fixed this?
Sal Giardino.
Sal Giardino. Is there a business that? Is it?
Yeah, he's everybody in town knows Sal. He's out on Metairie Road. He fixes guitars, but also violins and cellos, basses, things like that. He's a wood guy. He'll work on electric guitars, but mostly it's like acoustic guitars and stuff. He did a refret on this.
And he refretted it.
Yeah, he's refretted this, and he's worked on some other stuff of mine. and he's great.
Sal Giardino, everybody.
Yeah, so check him out.
Fretman extraordinaire. Technical questions.
Sure.
Are you a thick string guy, thin string guy?
Well, I didn't know this when I got this guitar, but I put my usual medium gauge strings on. That I had this Yamaha acoustic that I played until I got this. And that one I always had medium gauge strings on. And I put medium gauge strings on this, and it was really hard to play. And I found a text I sent to Spencer. I was like, hey Spencer, what kind of strings do you put on this? He's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. 12s, I guess. And 13s are the ones that's medium gauge.
Mediums or 13s, yeah.
For acoustics, I think.
Yeah, that's something I'm sure of. Those are the ones I use.
Anyway, so I put the 12s on, and it played much better. I was like, why am I playing light gauge? Now I'm playing light gauge acoustic. Well, it's got a different scale length.
Sure.
It's got a longer scale.
Oh, this is a long scale guitar.
Then yeah, and it's also got a wider neck. But it's got a longer scale, which I didn't.
That's cool because
I never knew that scale length mattered at all, right? But if
it doesn't
it's
matter
longer,
until you get to a certain level.
I don't know.
And then
Like, that's how stupid I am about guitars. It just wasn't even something I thought about. So like something like a Stratocaster. Like I usually play 11s or 12s on a guitar, electric guitar. Try to put that on a Stratocaster, it's
too hard to play.
It's hard to play because it's got a long scale length.
Yeah. Are you
compared to a Gibson guitar?
I was gonna say, like, we'll get to that question, the Fender or Gibson question. That's one where the definitive question for a lot of guitar players: are you a Fender guy or a Gibson guy? Does it make a difference to you?
I don't currently have a Fender guitar, but I played Fenders for years back in the day, a long time ago. I had borrowed a Stratocaster from a friend of mine, and I played that pretty exclusively with this reggae band that I used to play with years ago. And I liked it, it was good for that style, I was just kind of decoration guy,
In reggae, yeah.
Reggae is fun as hell, And so just every once in a while, just take a big old solo, I guess I probably like, Gibson's better, or, but I have recently kind of gotten into these single coil pickups, like these Diarmid pickups.
Yeah, the old jazz numbers.
They're called Dyna something or Dynacomp or something.
Those things, they're the ones that go right over here, right?
They're
the little tubes that come.
They're like they're anyway. It's like I think that they're kind of like P90s or something. I don't know, but this guitar that somebody loaned me has them, and I liked the way they sounded, and so I got a pair and put them on this Gretsch that I'm playing.
I could definitely see you playing Gretsch guitars.
But
for sure.
so like I don't know, like so I guess it's kind of like marrying the two things. Like it's like a single coil pickup, but it's on a bigger guitar, like a semi hollow body guitar, instead of like a plank of wood like a Strat or a Tele.
Alex, you're confusing me. From on one side, you're saying that you don't care too much, but yet you do know a little bit about it. Maybe.
Well, I mean,
I know.
I mean, everybody knows what a Stratocaster is.
Sure.
And a Telecaster. I mean, even me. And like I can't remember the name of these pickups.
Who knows? There's so
many all this
things.
money for a Dynacomp. I want to say Dyna something, Dinosaur, or Dyna.
I think it's Dynasonic.
Dynasonic.
Could be wrong.
I mean,
The Diarmid would be
it's Diarmid is
the classic jazz pickup is a Diarmid guitar mic, or the other ones are like there's a gold one and a silver one, and those are the ones that
Okay.
guys like.
Yeah, there's like the bars and the lipstick ones, and there's the gold foil ones, and all the Dungeons and Dragons guys.
It is. I do find it is amazing that we're doing a podcast. You came over to my place today. We're talking about all this stuff, and we spend an inordinate amount of time playing these things. And the reality is the people that we play for. There's two types of guitar sounds, good or bad. It doesn't make a goddamn bit of difference what it is. It could be It could be a golden guitar if it's.
But you know, I mean, you're looking for tone. I'm always looking to improve my
Always,
tone,
always.
and I always figured though it probably comes from me more than the gear, you know. So, and I hear recordings of myself, and I'm like, oh yeah, I really need to do some work on what I sound like, you know. And so, my first impulse is not to buy some new pickups. It's to, you know, I don't know, like rethink things, you know, or maybe play harder or softer or something like that, you know.
Yeah, 99%.
Something that's cheaper to do,
Well,
more affordable to change your playing than to.
I'm sure people ask you the same, that you come off stage and common ground for people will try to create, or they do create a common ground with the performers, and a lot of people ask me like, you know, guitars and about guitars, what guitar should I be playing, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes looking for justification to buy new stuff, and I tell people the same thing every time. If you're gonna go and spend, if you have a guitar that's a good guitar, take the money and go take some lessons. You probably don't need another guitar. And this is coming from a guy that has arguably quite a few guitars, way too many than I certainly need.
Yeah.
But it is true that it's we chase and chase and chase and chase and chase. You know, hopefully looking for finding the sound that's in our heads and coming as close as we can to that. So this being New Orleans, we're going to come to a close, and you've been around the block certainly more times than you might admit. You've been around for a while, playing a lot of gigs in a lot of places, intercontinental. I'd like you to think about this one. What's the strangest thing that you ever saw happen from the stage?
God, I don't know. That's the kind of thing that I just don't have that sort of thing indexed, you know.
Fair enough.
I don't have.
Are you a performer
I've done a lot of gigs
that
you know?
looks? How much of the audience are you in the front row, and that's as far as you go, as far as people that you consciously try to connect with? Are you trying to find the people? Are you trying to play to the people in the back? I mean, you're playing to everybody, obviously, but are you more so just you find your 2 or 3?
Sometimes you like wonder, where am I supposed to be looking? You know, should I? For the longest time, when I first started playing solo, I would close my eyes because I was so terrified. And it's like, you really ought to open your eyes because it's disconcerting. But yeah, you know, every audience is different. Every night is different. It's, you know, you just go in thinking, you know, I'm gonna try to do the best I can, and sometimes there's just like a connection with an audience, and sometimes you're just feeling good, and you can connect very easily. Sometimes it's harder, you know. Sometimes there's just like an energy that you can't really look people in the eye, you know, or something, you know, and you're not really hitting it off. There's no, that energy isn't there. But that's okay, you know, you just do the best you can. And there's always like the next time, you know, so, you know, I guess what I'm trying to do, first of all, is trying to establish a connection with myself, you know, to get connected with the thing, the spirit or whatever, and get it, you know, because if that's not happening, then it's not going to happen, you know. So if I can connect with myself and with the other musicians, then, you know, then we're gonna have a good time, you know. And it's just a human thing, and I don't know if anybody really knows what's going on, you know, in a mathematical way or scientific way, but there's something's going on. So, you know, we seem to be, you know, we do know that there is something there. So let's try to get after it.
Fair enough. We're gonna close out in a minute or so. Last question about the guitar or guitars in general. This is it's a moot point because I was gonna say what would be the guitar that you would play if you could play any guitar? And is there one? Would you wanna try something storied, 1952, whatever?
Sometimes I don't know. I guess maybe there's some old Gibson or something that I would like to. That would just. I don't. I think that there's. You could take like 10 of the same guitar, and they'd all be different.
Oh yeah.
So I'm always figuring that one day, you know, if I ever do find a guitar that just sort of I click with, then I'll just find it, and that's that. You know, I don't know if it's a. I mean, I would think it would be something. I don't know, something like this. Maybe an old Gibson that's about this size, that had a nice sound. Those old Gibsons sometimes they just kind of they don't have a very big sound.
No, some of them are.
You know.
Some of them are very punchy.
Yeah, so I don't know. It'll just be when it happens, I'll know. I don't know.
Fair enough.
But I'm not like out there looking, you know, because I don't have like $17,000 to.
Oh, I know.
To drop on the guitar, you know,
it's ridiculous.
So.
And you know your Spencer's guitar, this guitar, so much of it is in the hands. So much of it is the way that these things sound. So much of it is in the way the player approaches it. It does have to do with the guitar itself. Obviously, if you're playing a solid body electric, it's not going to sound like a hollow acoustic. Yeah. But it's not going to sound that much different.
Yeah.
I mean,
if I run into a guitar that comes my way and we hit it off and we run away together, great.
Then you're going to go with it.
Great, but I'm not,
You're not
waiting up nights,
If you were going to give, from what I understand, there's a lot of people that viewed this, listened to this podcast, and talked about it with their kids, trying to get their kids. A lot of people that I know or that have children. If you were going to give a kid just starting out, the 13-year-old, 15-year-old Alex McMurray starting out to play the guitar, what's the best advice you can give him as a player?
I mean, if it was, I just think about me when I was 13, God, like it seems so much more competitive when I was a kid, people, the people that I grew up around that were, the kids were a year older than me or 2 years, they were really good, and so it I don't know, but do I have advice? I don't know. Have fun.
Have fun with it.
Have fun and don't be afraid to spend a little time, dig in a little bit, and I learn mostly from books, so.
Anyone stick out? Any one book?
I just think that when I was starting, there was the Heavy Guitar Bible was like, showed me like how to play, like rock guitar, which is like
Heavy Guitar Bible.
Yeah, it was beautifully illustrated and everything. It was just like, here's the blues scale, here's the major blues scale, here's like the chords that are in a key, blah blah blah. Like this, just the nuts and bolts stuff. Like this is why Wild Thing is this, and it's these are the chords that are in the key, and here's the ones that you're gonna see too that are not diatonic, but
All right, Heavy Guitar Bible.
It's a great one. That was a good book for like a 13-year-old. I don't know. Now YouTube is like you could learn. You could build a nuclear submarine on YouTube from YouTube, I guess.
You could,
if you have cards.
You could, and then that question is, where is the line between information and actual knowledge?
Yeah, right.
It becomes very clear very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish off, or else I'm gonna get scolded by, why didn't you ask him this? Guitar picks, yes or no?
Yeah, I play Fender mediums because I buy them by the gross, I like the way they sound.
144 each. You buy-
I buy them by the gross, and they burn really good. But I'm trying more and more to play with my fingers without a pick. Just because I know this guy named Will Sexton, who's a friend of mine, who plays without a pick, and I like the way he sounds. So I'm thinking about, and then David Cowser, who's another great Memphis guitar player who played without a pick. And
I saw Will Sexton. Will at Chikiwawa like 6-8 months ago. He was good.
yeah, he's great.
Was good.
And
Great
he
touch on
never,
that thing.
never plays it with a pick, and I'm just trying to sort of get that together a little bit.
Fair enough. My friend, I cannot thank you enough. It's been enlightening. Everybody, check out Alex McMurray. Check out the Tin Men. Check out Happy Talk Band. Valparaiso Men's Chorus. Help me out, Alex.
Oh,
What am I
you say
missing?
Happy Talk Band. You say, I played with Wright Brothers,
Wright Brothers, that's it.
007. I back up people like Lynn Drury and Paul Sanchez and whoever's calling.
Fair enough. And the best way to see all things Alex McMurray, where we're looking at a website, Instagram.
AlexMcMurray.com is
That's
great,
easy.
or you can find me on Bandcamp. I've got a lot of stuff on Bandcamp.
And that's McMurray with an M-A-C or
MC.
MC. McMurray, MC.
McMurray.
AlexMcMurray.com.
Yeah.
Alex McMurray, it was my distinct pleasure, my friend.
Pleasure's all mine, Chris.
We'll see each other running around, but you're welcome anytime, my friend.
Okay, cool.
Take it
Thanks,
slow.
man.
Thank you.
All right.